Hey guys, it's AJ with Hunt Light here, out on location at Cathedral Edge, and today I want to talk about assisted braking devices. Specifically, I want to talk about the Mad Rock Safeguard here. I'm going to go through and show you a couple of applications in the climbing world. I'm going to show you a top rope climber, a lead climber situation with this device, and why we wouldn't want to have a knot tied on the brake strand of the device that way. And then we're going to come back and we're going to hook up onto the rope here and show you in our application as saddle hunters how we're utilizing this device, and then why a knot is okay to tie in the brake strand of the device, as well as both a friction hitch on the brake strand or on the load strand of the device. Stick around and you'll hopefully learn something. If not, maybe this will clarify something. But first, let's get to the disclaimer. Okay, first up we have a top rope climber being belayed on the Mad Rock Safeguard. You can see here, every time the climber moves, the belayer is taking in the slack that is leading into the climber's side of the device, and he is keeping that rope taut between him and his climber here. So each step that the climber makes, you can see that belayer taking that slack up. All right, next up is a lead climber being belayed using the Mad Rock Safeguard. So very similar in some senses in terms of managing the slack between the climber and the device. However, there is going to be more feeding out slack to the climber in this sense. So you'll see the belayer feed slack to the climber as the climber moves his piece of protection and moves that rope into it a little bit higher. So each time a lead climber moves forward, moves up, the rope needs to go with him, and you'll see the belayer paying that slack out. Hopefully you can visualize how having a knot in that brake strand in a lead climbing scenario would not be ideal. The next you'll see here is the climber being lowered. This goes for typically a lead climber or a top rope climber, but basically being lowered from an anchor that's above you down. This is what it looks like through that device. This is essentially what's happening while we rappel. Now let's hook up to our rope and take a look at how this device works in a saddle hunting situation for us. So first thing first, we do have the climber end and the brake strand, as we do with most other assisted braking devices. And for us, the climber strand is going to be the anchor and the brake strand is going to go to the ground. You can clearly see that here. Anchor up, brake strand down. Close that device, and then I clip and lock my locking carabiner. So now this device theoretically is going to keep me safe in my saddle here. So as I load this device, theoretically I should be able to go hands-free here. But what happens if something randomly hits that? Whew. See, that's not fun. One way we can back that up, because we are statically loading this line, is we can tie a backup knot right here. So when I'm at hunting height, or I need to stop to adjust and grab my stick on the way down or get my platform after, I can do that and I can go hands-free. Now watch this. Watch as I pull this lever. I'm not going anywhere. That knot is keeping me right there. Now in order for me to go down, I just have to untie that knot. Does get a little tight. Keep my hand on that brake strand, and then I can go down. So there's no risk of a dynamic fall happening in this system that is going to cause any slippage. So if I tie a knot here and I fall as I am right now, and I fall, statically loaded. If I take a little slack off, and it does slip a little bit. We're concerned about those lead falls, or maybe even a top rope fall, but typically a lead climbing fall. So that's one way that you can back this up. So as I'm climbing, when I'm going up, I typically leave enough of a distance in my anchor tether here to be able to move up and down a little bit, and I do tie this knot as I'm going up. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, that's totally fine. 100% totally fine. We have other options. You can use a friction hitch on the brake strand. Yes, I know, on the brake strand of the device. Because all this is doing is acting as a third hand and allowing me to go hands-free. It's doing nothing more than that. So I clip this on, and where I'm gonna clip it onto is I'm gonna clip it onto one side of my bridge. So where that bridge connection loop is, I'm just gonna clip it on there. That way, there's no risk of that device entering there. And look, I'm hands-free. If I need to manipulate this, I can still manipulate it. Go hands-free, and it holds on. Where is the issue here with the potential for a fall and a slippage? Let me just ask you that question. Where do you see that failure point? Again, they're talking about in a climbing situation, not in this saddle hunting type of scenario. So you can do this. I will say, make sure you have enough space. Give yourself a good 8 to 10 inches here, if you can, of room between your device and your saddle. When I'm rappelling down, I like to keep my device at about my face level. This is probably a little long for me. I like to keep it a little bit shorter so I can just maintain what's going on. When I'm climbing up, my device is nice and close. I want all of the slack out of the system. I want everything close to my body. The last way, and the way that Mad Rock recommends doing this, is you can tie a friction hitch, whatever friction hitch you fancy. I just did a basic pressic there. You can do an auto block, whatever's gonna work, whatever you prefer. It doesn't have to be a sewn or a tied loop. You can use the sewn ends. This last one is a bit of a pain in the ass if you're rappelling down, and I personally don't recommend doing this just because manipulating the pressic or any friction hitch, whatever it is a bit wonky, and the real estate in front here, it's a little loaded. And the way that this looks is here. I've got to somehow manage the pressic and control the brake strand at the same time. And this is an older way that we would say do this, but I think it's a bit wonky. Let's see. There we go. Let's get handle there and run that down. You can do it, but it's wonky. So again, the easiest way to do this, and I'll leave some references to some other videos down below as well. Another situation and a technique, if you go back maybe prior to this, there might be a situation in the video. I don't know if I've added it in or not. There's a climbing technique called a pick-off, where you have a stuck climber up there and you have to ascend to them. You have to make sure that you're protecting yourself and you can go hands-free. Common practice is, as you're ascending that rope, to tie a series of backup knots to prevent you from falling back down that rope. Again, I'll put the link to another video of that below if I don't demonstrate it prior. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, guys. You can back this and other assisted braking devices up in many different ways. The easiest and simplest is to tie a hard blocking knot. This is the simplest way to do it. Now I'm backed up, I'm good to go. There is nothing, I can be hands-free all day and not worry. I got nothing else. Hopefully that is helpful, clarifying some of the ways that you can back this up and how this device and other assisted braking devices work in relation to a climbing situation versus a saddle hunting situation. I know that as we use new devices in different applications, there's some confusion and there's some different lapses in knowledge, right? So hopefully this brought some clarity. Everybody be safe, and hopefully you're all preparing and ready for a great hunting season.